Good morning and welcome to the penultimate scene of Macbeth. Now again, as most of the scenes are at the end of the play, this one is pretty short and it focuses on the conflict, the final battle between Macduff and Macbeth. Now, because Macduff is such a key character in this scene, I want you to stop the video and brain dump everything you know about Macduff's character from the start of the play right the way through, and then start the video again when you're ready. Right, here are my thoughts. You might have some more things than I do, but this is what I've got. Right, in Act 1, Scene 2, Macbeth is defeating MacDonald and the Norwegian invasion on the west, and then there's another Norwegian invasion on the east in a place called Fife. Now, it's really likely that it's Macduff who led the forces that defeated this second invasion and also defeated the original Thane of Cawdor, because Fife is where Macduff comes from. The military leader who wins that battle is referred to as Bellona's bridegroom in Act 1, Scene 2. Anyway, it's really likely that it is Macduff. So at the start of the play, Macduff is patriotic, courageous, a military leader, and really loyal to King Duncan. He's defending his country. Then we see Macduff in Act 2, Scene 3 when he discovers Duncan's body and he cries out horror, horror, horror as he realises the divine right of kings has been broken. This cements in our minds the idea that Macduff is loyal, he's honourable, he's respectful. He's absolutely horrified at this challenge to Duncan's earthly control, but also to God's control on earth as well. So he's a pretty honourable guy. After that, Macbeth kills Duncan's guards and he says he did it because he was suspicious of them. He thought they murdered Duncan. And Macduff asks a couple of questions about this. Now, it kind of depends on how the actor plays it, but you could argue that Macduff is becoming suspicious of Macbeth from this point onwards. He doesn't quite understand the reasoning for why Macbeth kills the guards. Then in Act 2, Scene 4, it's pretty notable that Macduff says he's not going to the coronation of Macbeth. He says he's going to Fife, where his family are. Then he doesn't go to the banquet. Now, this banquet is supposed to celebrate Macbeth's accession to the throne, his gaining of power, his authority as king. All of the Thanes go. Banquet obviously doesn't because he has just been killed, but also Macduff does not attend. And at the end of the banquet, Macbeth realises that Macduff wasn't there and he's pretty troubled by that. Then in Act 4, Scene 1, the witches tell Macbeth to beware Macduff. Act 4, Scene 2, Macbeth has Macduff's family savagely slaughtered. And then in Act 4, Scene 3, we see an awful lot more of Macduff. He hasn't stayed in Fife. He's gone to England, leaving his family kind of victim to Macbeth. But he's gone to England to see Malcolm to try and raise support to defeat Macbeth, to bring an army back and to challenge the tyrant's authority. He calls Macbeth an untitled tyrant, bloody sceptred. And then he hears about his family's death and he says, I must feel it as a man. So Macduff is an interesting representation of masculinity in the play. Not only is he brave and courageous, but he's also in touch with his emotions and he doesn't have a problem with that. And then he vows revenge on Macbeth. Okay, we need a new bit of vocabulary for today's scene. Now, I'm going to pronounce this, and there's a bit of a debate in my educational history about how this is pronounced. Different teachers, different people have told me different things. Some people say anagnorisis, some people say anagorisis. Really doesn't matter as long as you can spell it, for the purposes of the exam anyway. So anagorisis is a moment of realization, an epiphany where a character finally understands what has been happening to them. And this is associated with the concept of the tragic hero. So we'll talk about the tragic hero having a moment of anagorisis. Macbeth has had some realization when he sees that Birnam Wood is walking towards his castle. And in today's scene, he's going to have a full moment of realization when Macduff reveals that he was not of woman born. Now, think back to the witches' prophecies. They told Macbeth that he couldn't be killed or harmed by anyone not born of woman. And Macbeth has thought to himself, well, everyone's been born of a woman, so, therefore I can't be killed, I can't be harmed. That seems like the logical conclusion to draw. But Macduff has not been born of woman, and the reason for that is that he was born via C-section. He says in this scene he was from his mother's womb untimely ripped, as in she was cut open and he was taken out. Now, a possible explanation for that is that his mother was really poorly and that she was dying, and this is the only way they had of saving one of the two people who was at risk. Whatever the reason behind it is, Macduff was not born in a natural way. And this is the moment to reveal that right at the end of the play. And this is the moment where Macbeth realizes that he has been tricked by the witches. So let's look at the scene. Macbeth comes on stage. He says, "Why should I play the Roman fool and die on mine own sword?" So by this, he means that in Roman tragedies, in Roman culture, it was more honourable for a soldier who was about to be defeated to commit suicide than let his opponent kill him. And Macbeth says, "I'm not going to do that. That's a foolish thing to do." And he says, "While I see lives, the gashes do better on them." So he's going to attack. He's going to gash other people rather than killing himself. And then Macduff comes in and says, "Turn, hellhound, turn." What a great start to a fight. And Macbeth says, "Of all men else I have avoided thee, but get thee back. My soul is much too charged with blood of thine already." So you can imagine these two great warriors squaring up to each other. Macduff insults Macbeth, calling him a hellhound, a dog from hell, and Macbeth fires back a line that he has killed Macduff's family. So they're squaring up to each other, and Macduff says, "I have no words, my voice is in my sword," as in, let's get rid of all this talk, I'm going to attack you with my sword. And then they fight. Macbeth says, "Thou losest labour, as easy mayst thou the entrenchant air with thy keen sword impress, as make me bleed. Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. I bear a charmed life which must not yield to one of woman born." So here he goes back to that prophecy. And Macduff, here's the revelation. Macduff says, "Despair thy charm, and let the angel whom thou hast served tell thee, Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped." And at this moment, most directors have a pause as Macbeth takes in this information. And then he says, "Accursed be that tongue that tells me so, for it hath cowed my better part of man, and be these juggling fiends no more believed." So this is his anagorasis, this is his realization, his epiphany. Macbeth realizes that the witches are juggling fiends. This is a wonderful image. So juggling implies that they've been playing with him. It's been a bit of a game to them. They've been kind of throwing him up in the air, tossing him around, just enjoying ruining his life essentially. And then the word fiends links the witches to the devil. We know that Banquo has already called the witches the instruments of darkness. Well, Macbeth seems to have this realization here. And then Macbeth says, "I'll not fight with thee. So I know that you can kill me," is the implication here. "I'm not going to fight you." And then Macduff calls him a coward. Sorry, Northern Irish accent here. Coward in my English accent. So Macduff calls him a coward. He says, "You're afraid, you're too frightened to fight me." And of course, this is the one insult that will get Macbeth to act. Lady Macbeth has called her husband afraid, frightened, a coward, unmanly, in order to get him to kill King Duncan. And that worked. And now Macduff is calling him a coward, as in suggesting you're not manly enough. So we know this is going to get Macbeth to fight. So Macbeth says, "I will not yield to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet," as in, okay, I'm not going to give in. I don't want to see Malcolm as king. I don't want to have to bow down to him. And so they fight. Technically, the killing of Macbeth would have happened off stage in Shakespeare's time. Lots of productions show it happening on stage these days, but in Shakespeare's time, you couldn't show the killing of the monarch on the stage. So they go off stage. Technically, that's where Macduff kills Macbeth, and then he's going to bring in his severed head in Act 5, Scene 9.